Hi, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Hospitality Manifesto. Stephen, how are you, my man?
I'm good.
Look, hey, I apologize. I've been promising since we started coming up with ideas what to do the podcast. I wanted to have this guest on many, many times. He is the owner of the pawn shop YVR on Granville Street, and I've just been a really big admirer not only of his and his operations, but particularly his social media. So, Ray Stanza, welcome, my friend. How are you?
Doing well. Thanks for having me on, guys.
All
Good,
right.
good.
Thanks for joining.
I for a long time, and you and I have known each other now 5, 6 years.
Yeah. It's
Yeah,
a while. Yeah.
it's been a while. And but one of the things that I don't know if it's been post COVID, but this social media side of the pawn shop has really taken off in the last little while. I've sat down with your social media team and talked about bar metrics, and it's all because of all the great stuff that I see them doing at your place, and wondering if that's something I should be doing for my business some more or for what we're doing. And so I wanted to ask you about what got you addicted to the social media bug, and what pushed you to make the kind of investment that I know you've made into this, and are you getting the ROI? So why don't you start a little bit with where this came from?
When we transformed the pawn shop from our original restaurant, it was called, previous to the pawn shop, it was called Sip, and we were around for 10 years. That brand was strong, was great, did really well. Obviously, times changed, Granville changed. But that brand was solely built on really myself and other managers there, like just us being present all the time and taking care of guests and all that. And it was kind of like that connection, which, a time came where I had to step away and, had my family and all those kind of things. And I started seeing a decline in that business. And I was, I kept racking my brain, like, what's going on? What's happening? Why not? Why not? And in that time, that's where, obviously you started seeing social media and marketing in general growing. So when the time came that we had to unfortunately close the restaurant, I was sitting there with my partner Peter going, what can we do differently with the pawn shop? And right away, the first thing I said is, I'll get this place open. I'm going to give it a year, but I go, we need to build a brand. You need to build a brand that there's no face attached to it. There's, no specific person that you can just plug and play your staff. It doesn't matter who or what goes in there. You know what it is. You know the environment. You know the people. You know what we're trying to sell. You know what we're trying to do. How can you encompass that voice, that image, that experience without people even getting there? And that's how, I was racking my brain. How we're going to do this. And this is when social media, 10 years ago started getting going. Instagram and before it used to be Facebook. I mean, now it's gone to a new level, but and that's when we started with our first marketing agency that we worked with. And they really helped us. And that's when video content became really big for us. And in doing so, we created a demand where like people like just wanted to go there. So any of our ideas, whether it was our food or whether it was our the vibe from the music, the room felt, the experience, whether it was your birthday, whether it was an anniversary, all that, we put that online so people can go, wow, like that's what they do there. Let's get there. So we wanted to make people connect, and it worked. Back then with Pawn Shop, we didn't really spend. A lot of it was organic, which was really nice. And that till this day it's organic. I don't spend a lot of money on ads with Google or Instagram boosts or posts or any of that. There's so many, I guess you could say influencers, you can buy their input and stuff, but, we do certain things with that, but I just literally want people to connect with who we are and what we are at the restaurant. And you see that from, some of the humorous things we put out there. Some stuff's funny, some stuff's offside. You got to be careful with cancel culture. You got to watch what you say, watch what you do. But, I can say in doing that, it's nice to hear people walk by and thanks Robin for saying that. Is like a lot of other places have come up to us like, what do you guys do? How do you guys do your marketing? To be honest, it's just me and Aubrey just sitting there bouncing ideas. I'll come up with something, just throw at her like, what do you think? How do we do this? Like the big one that I still think to this day, and I'll let you guys in on a secret that I think I might bring him back, was my dad was a big marketing icon for us. Like big burly Italian guy that you'd never think is involved in a taco bar, and we just started using them. I made shirts with them on it. I got them in the videos, and if you would see the reach and the connection of people, I started laughing. I'm like, how did this even make sense? And people just loved it. So yeah, it was that's what we've kind of done, and it's the consistency now too, right? That's the hardest part with marketing is it's a different beast now because before, previous to all the online social media and everything else, you could measure your return. You could do 1,000 mail outs. I was like, okay, great. Let's see how many of those come in. I could give away 100 gift cards out there, number them and track them. But now you just don't know, right? And the difference is if you don't do it, you're way behind the eight ball. So now it's just become an expense just to kind of stay relevant. And that's the hardest part when you're like looking at your bottom line. And, I'm sure you guys have spoken before, and, our bottom line now is not like it used to be. You're not making money. Those days of making 17, 20%. Now you're lucky if you're scraping 5% after everything, right? And how much are you putting towards marketing? Like, you're looking, are you putting 10%? Are you putting 5%? Are you putting, is it the old days that, buying every customer a drink or an appetizer when they walk in goes a lot longer? I don't even think that mantra works anymore because the connection that people connect more online, and yeah, it's something that we're going to continue to do. And we're actually in the process of even stepping it up a little bit further in the next 6 months with some other stuff.
So what's your time commitment then between you and your social media marketer? I mean, like how are you spending hours a day? I mean, because I think like social media, it's hungry, right? It's always I need more, get more content, more content. More content. So how much time are you spending to generate this content?
We allocate minimum just so we allocate me and my marketing manager, we spend a 2 hour meeting a week minimum, just her and I. And that's what normally planning for like the next month and stuff. That's just generic content. That's like, these are our focuses. This is what I have coming up. This is what I want to see. And then once a month, we dedicate an 8 hour day um, with staff to do photo shoots and video shoots. And so you're allocating quite a bit of time. And even that, like, before, staff were excited just to come in and do it. Now I got to pay my staff to come and do it, or you got to pay like the day of everything being free doesn't really exist anymore, right? It is. And to answer your question, there's never enough time. Like I have a list of things that I want to do that I'm just like, oh, I can't get to it. So
Yeah. So not a small investment then,
no,
right? I
not
mean,
at all.
you're
You
so
you could I've just hired another person to help with more of our digital online, like checking our SEOs and stuff and being on top of that. And we sat down and broke down what a marketing position it actually entails right now. And realistically, if you wanted to have every aspect of your business covered, it'll cost you 200 grand a year, which we don't spend.
wow, that's wow.
But
Because
still,
I
to
mean, back
think, to think that to have a digital marketing manager I mean, the pawn shop for now is one store.
it is.
It would, if there were 10 pawn shops, maybe that makes sense. Maybe turn around and say, yeah, you know what? We need a 40-hour a week person doing this. But when you are a standalone operation and to turn around and say, yeah, I'm going to commit even, well, you said two, but let's commit $100,000 to that. And then how does that reflect it in the menu? Because we're not talking about food cost. So then we go around and say, look, I got to put everything. I need 25 cents from every taco and 50 cents from every margarita to pay for that.
100%.
And then there's all the fees and everything else because all of a sudden it's not. I mean, for me to go on LinkedIn, even I'm paying for the premium. So there's already all those costs that are just showing up on the credit card. Never mind hiring a professional. And you can see what I do versus what Aubrey does, and you go, wow. And I've had to talk with Aubrey and say, man, like I couldn't afford her at this point because
No, it's you're
you know what I mean.
exactly.
Like she is terrific at what she does, and I'm sure she's worth every penny. But I mean, I wasn't ready for her yet. But she's one of the first people I will call when the time comes, because I'm such an admirer of everything that you guys have been able to put out, and I know that it's there now. Instagram and comments and complaints. Where are you with that? Who's handling it? Because I'm a big believer in a knee-jerk reaction. Like even having this monitored. It's one thing to have Aubrey come in once a month and do the shoot, and then she can program a bunch of stuff to come out whenever. But how are you managing comments and complaints and just replying to those things?
Funny enough, I still do it. It's part of my. I literally. It's part of my morning. It's like my morning coffee. I literally will get up in the morning, open up my laptop. It's literally one of the I'll just do my daily check. I'll jump on, check our reviews quickly, see if any notifications came in, and a lot of them are just generic. I just do a little quick checks and acknowledges. But it's naturally we make it part of our general manager's responsibility. But I mean, I have time right now with the two stores, so I can do that. But it is something that's time consuming, and to be honest, it's also frustrating because the world of the keyboard warriors is just a little much out there right now, and you just got to be careful. That's kind of one of those things I've always said is some people are way out of line and they just want to be heard and create, and you do your best to put up a smoke screen where you just respond in a professional way and either try to highlight it, or if it's totally offside and try to get it removed or not. But it's better I kind of leave things unsaid, and the Bonzi praise are those great 5 stars you get. Just really acknowledge and thank those people, and even go out of your way sometimes. I've had a customer post multiple great reviews and became a regular, and you know what, out of my way, we make a note on their file is once a month they come in, I buy them a coffee if they're at Wooden Spoon, or buy them something, and they're like, really, what's that for? I'm like, thanks for being a great patron. How do you know? I'm like, I follow your reviews, I appreciate it. Like those, it's just those little acknowledgments that people enjoy. But it is, you know as you guys are talking about it, the digital world is very time consuming. It is absolutely, it's getting to a point now where, you know, it's a lot easier now, to be honest, with AI, obviously. It's becoming very almost repetitive. You can program everything. You can program auto responses. You can program all those things. But, is that what the customer wants? Is that okay? Is that acceptable? Does that feel real? Or do the customers just feel like, oh, it's just an auto response, right? So there's that fine line, but there's only, as you're saying, there's only so much time in a day. Like, what can you actually do?
Yeah. So for your marketing manager, social media manager, I mean, is she? Because I mean, back in the day, we used to have like in the early days of social media, we'd have a server who was like pretty savvy with it and take some pictures and post it and just do it on the phone and in between shifts or something like that. But do you, for other operators maybe thinking, I got to up my social media game, do they need to invest in somebody if this is what they do and they're not just the bartender on the side? Or what would your advice be to those operators?
That is something that we also do. So, for example, Aubrey is our marketing, like as Robin mentioned, she's the one that puts out the like daily posts, the more just the generic brand information. Then the part you're talking about is almost like Instagram Live or just in the moment kind of thing, and that is where we have certain templates and there's different apps you can download where we do tell our bartender or our manager for the day, hey, when you walk in there, get chef to make something quickly for you, make a cool little reel, do a little video, and let's get it online. And we do give certain managers access to that, to post. They do have guidelines to follow, and we do make sure that they're not putting really terrible stuff up there. And so we do it that way. But again, it's not a bartender or a server. We do get our managers who have been trained by Aubrey in how to do that.
So, is there specific content that when you post it, actually moves that needle and drives engagement? What's the secret sauce for
It's
getting
it's got to be funny. Like,
your dad?
yeah,
That's
my dad. I let you in on that. He's coming back. He's coming back. He doesn't know yet, but I was just talking. We're gonna bring him back. He's got
so
to
really it's you don't know until you toss it out there, I
toss it
guess.
out there. Like certain things just catch. Like right now, if you followed us, we brought out. It just came out of nowhere. Our bartender Mitch, he put on a luchador mask. Now we call him El Tequilador, and like he just comes out and just pours tequila down people's shot, and it's blown up. So now, like we got a new night coming on Mondays that he's gonna come out. At 9 o'clock at night, El Tequilador is gonna come out and for free shots of tequila like this, and they just love it. So people just eat it up, and it's almost just like dumb humor that people love. Like the base content, like when you look at your Instagram page, that's kind of like what our old websites used to be, right? That's got to be like, clean, polished in a snapshot. What does your brand look like? But your stories and, your reels, like it's all about reach, and the funnier and I mean, be careful when I say offside because some places can go offside, but yeah, just you gotta. What makes you laugh like this? Like, what makes you tick? And the hard part now is I feel is like the new generation, like the youth, is like that's where I'm finding it tricky right now because I mean I'm 44 and think I'm funny, but I'm not really funny to my kids anymore. But it's trying to connect to those. 'Cause, like I'd say from you know anyone born 2000 and above, we can still connect, but it's really trying to figure out how to connect with the new era, the Gen Zs, whom they love their videos, they love their reels, they love their TikToks, and we're so I'm a little bit behind on that, and we're just trying to figure out how to make that work. And I think, like I said, like this recent one is with the tequila door and some other fun stuff. I think it's gonna bring some people back again.
Now we were talking about ROI. So my question is, how do you know it's working? Like is it all instead of now counting guest checks and guest average? Is it about comments, likes, and forwards? Is that really the measurement now? Because while it's going to be really tough to connect Instagram to the till,
Right.
but I think you're right about reach. I mean, this is the restaurant business, though. I think the restaurants are about connection, right? The people, the place, and just that's why you left the house. That's what drew the customer away from their television set. But now we're trying to do that same thing through the digital media and the marketing behind it. And so when you see those likes and comments and forwards, is that where we really in the end should be looking, not the till?
Yeah, I mean the likes. Yeah, I mean that's definitely a good way to measure like, hey, how many people are actually clicking on it. I mean, the longest somebody normally stays on your video is like 5 seconds. Like you have to your first 5 seconds, you got to capture what they're going to do. If they stay longer, then you really have them like locked in. It's I can tell you the way I've measured it is I compare us to other places that don't do good social media, and we are definitely busier than them. So it's tough to like do that as an independent. I mean, that's the one way. It's sad to say it that way, but I mean, a lot of it is us even just asking customers. Like that's one thing. Like if I'm ever in the building and when I'm there, hey, how'd you hear about a happy hour? It's like, oh, like man, you guys are all over. I saw you on your social, or I saw you on your Instagram. Oh, I saw that wicked reel. Like those kind of things like that. I mean, the one reach we found that were really good is using some of the influencers' help is like people name dropping that influencer specifically that they follow. But a lot of it is measurement. Is I always get my staff is like one of the first things. Ask your table. Is it the first time here? Why are they here? Where did they hear about us? How what was it online? Was it this or that? And I mean, you can get those analytics also when people are coming in, and a lot of the POS systems we're using now allow you to track that. For example, like we're using Toast now, and with Toast, when people are making reservations, it'll track, did they go through Google? Did they go through our website? Did they use Yelp? Did they use these things? So it's like, it's helping definitely define where people are coming from. But the generic, really measuring your ROI, it's one of those things that if you don't do it, I mean, you're definitely behind the eight ball, man. It's the only way you can communicate. Like how everybody is glued to their phones, right? That's the biggest thing.
So on the influencers, right? And apparently that's a job now, right? I mean, I'm 50. I'm 50 years old this year, so I'm like this. I don't get this. I don't like. I mean, apparently the ones that are really successful, like you said, work really hard and put lots of hours into it. But how do you handle? Like, I'm assuming this happens where you have a so-called influencer reach out and say, "Hey Ray, I got X amount of followers. If I come in, and I'll pump your brand for you, right? But you just got to buy me dinner." Are you handling that, or
Yeah,
what do you?
it comes through me on that one, and I look like when that we get 100 requests all the time because a lot of people are just looking for a free meal. But I'll look, and when I do it, I'll look. A, of course, you look at their followers. B, I'll look at their videos they've created previously to see what's out. Because at the end of the day, I kind of look at it. It's like, hey, if this person comes in, does it, and I get a free video of it out of it, it just adds to my content, right? So that's kind of my approach instead of, bringing my staff in to do an Instagram reel, to do these things. So I kind of look at it that way where it's, hey, bring them in on a slow night, get a free content video out of it. Yeah, it costs you, the average person, normally they don't drink a lot. It's mostly the food that they come in for. So, $100 for me, You put your 30% cost of goods, cost you $30. On a slower night, they come in, they get some film, some video, get a decent reach out of it, and it's sometimes it's good. The one we did was it was our patio last summer. We did one with main menus, and we almost hit 1 million clicks. It was like crazy. That was our biggest. That was our biggest one we've done, and it was like a big one we did last big patio season one, and hyped our happy hour. And I was like, we hit 1 million. I was like, wow. I mean, it took like a month and a bit, but I was like, I'm okay with that. And, yeah, when you hit 1 million, I was like, wow, that's a big reach.
Oh, for sure. Oh, that's crazy. What was I going to ask you? So for other operators, I mean, I think your success is in social media is, I think, outside of the norm, right? I mean, a lot of them are on there and they got a couple of dozen followers. So you know how do operators lean into that then and then drive more engagement? Is it do they need to invest in a marketing manager? Can they do it on their own?
I, I lucked out with Aubrey because she was a server and she knew my brand and she was kind of getting into marketing, and I kind of pushed her into this position, and it's worked out well. But if I were to give anyone advice, I highly recommend find somebody that is connected to the business somehow, whether they're a regular, a family member, or an employee that does digital on the side, and say, hey, why don't you come on board? You're already serving for us 2, 3 times a week. I could give you a part-time salary to be our full-time in-house marketing manager. And that's what I find from a small business perspective is your best option, because there's a lot of cookie cutter marketing agencies out there that are like, here, it costs you 6 grand a month. This is what you're getting. And they're based out of Toronto or they're based out of here. And you're just basically, they provide good stuff, but it's too much, right? So it is hard because again, it's time. And to be honest, with all the stuff out there, anybody can really do it in a pretty quick fashion if you put some time into it, but it's where's the time and who has it. So trying to find somebody internally is what I would always recommend to a small business if there is anybody that might be into that already. Um, but again, back to your question on like how much do you invest in wanting it? I don't recommend getting the big box people because you're not going to get what you want in a small business. If you're a 3 location spot, sure, you can amortize that over the three, but as a single spot, you got to find that sweet spot. And, depending what your revenues are and how much they can do. Because again, you talk about marketing, it's like menu design, graphic design, website design, your Instagram photos, your Instagram reels, your videos, your content for your posts, like it. And then you're like your online presence, whether it's on your Google pages or everywhere. It's a big, 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 big to do.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's all part of your. I mean, we talk a lot in some of our other episodes. We talk about your brand, and your brand isn't just your logo. Your brand is your logo, your menu, your atmosphere, the hospitality, your food. It's all it's all encompassing, right? And I think if you're I think this is something that operators might have to watch out for is if your online brand and messaging, if you're fun, happy, kind of go lucky thing, but your actual, in the store brand doesn't match, right? If your service is kind of slow and stuffy or whatever, I think you have to,
Yeah,
yeah,
it's all going to be aligned, one hundred
yeah,
percent.
yeah. You have to be aligned. So I think that's something operators kind of need to think about because everyone wants to be fun and jokey or whatever. But if they come in and you got elevator music playing and your menu's like 50
I,
years old,
I love you
you
saying that because that's why some customers come in and they'll be like, "It's too loud in here." I'm like, "What did you think you were going to get when you walked in?" It's like this is who we are. Like this is what we are. Like we're not that. That's the brand has to be aligned from every aspect, so that when a customer, you got to be able to tell and sell your story in a digital imprint, and that when they walk in, they feel the same. That there's no difference.
So before we let you go, Ray, something I've always wanted to ask you is where did the pawn shop name come from? If you were a taco and tequila bar that says pawn shop on Granville Street, where there could have been, where did it come from?
When we were when we were doing our storyboard for the place, we had names like El Jefes or like all these ones here. And then Peter and I just made a joke, is like, we should just call it the pawn shop. We're on Granville. It's all full of weed shop, porn shops, and pawn shops. And we started laughing because originally there's this restaurant concept in Vegas that we got inspired, because originally we were going to put a pawn shop in the front, kind of like a speakeasy mentality, like walk in and then come through. But then that idea kind of just like fell out the wayside because we wanted to do our patio and stuff. And then we're like, well, we kind of like the name. And then while we're working with our branding girl, she like tied in the pawn shop. So if you look at some of our brand, we'll have like jewelry and guitars and just random, but that's basically it. We're on Granville, man. Lots of pawn shops. There used to be. There's only one left. So, but people still come in and try to sell us stuff. It's pretty great. They'll come in and be like, hey, we got a watch for you. I'm like, I can give you 5 tacos if you're good with that. I'll take it.
As long as you want to trade in tacos and tequila.
We're good. I got lots. I got lots.
Oh, that's funny. So how, just since we're kind of talking about Granville Street, I know there's the city's working, well, again, has another plan to revitalize Granville. And
I've heard that. Yeah.
Right,
Yeah, I think it's called pressure wash.
well, they every couple of years they have a 5-year plan to revitalize Granville Street, right?
Yeah.
So what's, and I know some of the operators down there were on the news recently talking about some of the issues. So what's the vibe on Granville Street right now? Is it?
It's definitely gotten better. The police have done a great job. They've you definitely see a better presence. At the end of the day, it's unfortunate with the mental health of a lot of the people around there and the SROs and stuff. So, to be honest, until those get moved or displaced somewhere, it's going to be really tough to make the street back to what they want. But I mean, the plan sounds good. I'm hoping. I mean, I've been there 20 years, seen it all. Um, they just released a new hotel that's going to be potentially being done right next door to us, which is big news for us. They've talked about moving some of the SROs depending on what the province has planned, but that's the mainstay for that. I mean, it's sad. Like Granville is at a 30% vacancy right now. That's a big number. We are the entertainment district, but it's tough to call it an entertainment district when there's blocks that are empty, right? So I think I'm fingers crossed. It's going to be good. I do think, we do have World Cup coming next year. So there is, I think, a bit of pressure to really, really push that. Again, I hope I don't do what they did for the Olympics, where they just kind of put lipstick on it, clean it up, and then just let it fall right back. So I'm hoping that they take the right steps, but it is looking better. I mean, right now is the best time. It's warmer, summer. Like, now until September, it's great. Like, they do more street festival stuff and brings more traffic down. At the end of the day, if there's events and they give a reason to people to come down there, it does help us. It's those rainy days when there's nothing going on. I don't think people's number one mandate is, hey, let's go to Granville Street. They kind of want to stay in their neighborhood or do something of that sort. So,
Yeah, no, for sure. Well, I'm glad to hear it's trending in the right direction.
it is, yeah.
It's been, I know, post COVID, it's been, downtown has been tough environment to operate in. I think it's a testament to you and your team, your staff and your operation, that you've been there so long, and that you're continuing to be successful. So
Appreciate that.
Kudos to you guys. So.
Yeah.
Congratulations, Ray, and thank you for taking the time. I know
problem.
you're out being dad today.
Yeah.
But I really appreciate it, and say hello to the team there. We look forward to seeing you again soon.
Cheers, guys. Thanks for having me on.